This is Christine Brown, and while I have to listen to this podcast as my motherly duty, you have the choice not to. My sons, and of course Michael, sometimes say some naughty things when they're trying to be funny, but really, they're just being stupid. You still want to listen? Go right ahead. I am not your mother.
Welcome back to the Patriots Dynasty podcast. You've made it to week 13. Well, we have. I'm not sure anybody's listening anymore. But we have a special guest with us today. But before we get to him, we have Mike and Greg on the show tonight. No Steve. How you boys doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Pretty darn well.
I should have led one at a time. I knew better.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Great. But also with us, we have Connor Ireland, who to me sounds like a name of Conor McGregor in an off-license MMA game, but I assure you he is not. Connor, how's it going, bud?
It's going well. I think my name kind of sounds like someone who grew up as an Irish kid who's cheered for the Patriots for their entire life back during the Ben Coates, Drew Bledsoe. Who are those other guys? There's other guys. I cheered for those guys.
Huge fan.
Huge fan.
Vincent Brown back in those days.
I don't know if Greg remembers this because he's just a wee one, but the Boston Globe used to do a poster of a specific player every Sunday.
Oh, that's right.
And no one had more Ben Coates posters on their walls than I did. So, Greg, fuck with me when you can remember 1996, because I know I can.
They used to hang them up at Market Basket. That's when you know.
That's right.
Yeah. Coming up in Market Basket.
Yeah, up in the windows there.
Every Sunday, there was a little poster in the back of the Sunday Globe of a specific player, and I used to cut them out and tape them on my walls. So,
I think I had those up in my walls too. I remember those.
Connor, have you ever seen my scrapbook, bro?
I'm talking to the kid who had the Patriots shrine in his bedroom for.
I'm completely serious. I scrapbooked this whole season.
Yeah.
Let me guess, Greg. Your Patriots shrine started in 2003, 2004?
Dude, it was pre-Brady.
Yeah.
I scrapbooked Brady's first start.
He did.
Okay? So don't come at me. All right?
So 2000, 2001. Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
All right, so now that the dick measuring contest is over, how about we get to this football game, huh, boys?
I didn't even join the dick measuring contest.
All right, would you like to chime in about how big your Patriots dick is?
Yeah. Nah, there's time for that later.
All right. So this is, like we said earlier, week 13 of the 2001 season. The Cleveland Browns coming to visit Foxborough Stadium with the gratuitous shots of CMGI Field in the background. Browns were actually good for the Browns this year, I guess. Coming into the game, they were 6-5, which was more wins than they had in the previous two seasons combined, where they went 2 wins and then 3 wins. Unfortunately, they would finish the season 7-9, miss the playoffs. Typical Brown shit.
Well, they had Eric Crouch. It's a great, what did he win, a Heisman? He was like the great white hope for the Browns.
Well, they were talking about him as the Heisman winner or something in this game. But this was pre-Crouch. This was Tim Couch.
That's what I meant. Tim Couch. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he I felt so bad for Tim Couch in this game. Well, we'll get to that in a bit, but he struggled. He was sacked 51 times this season.
Ugh.
I think we touched on most sacked players in league history, and I'm pretty sure this was on that list in the top 10 or 20, whatever it was.
I don't know. There was some 70s on that list.
Oh yeah, it was what's his face was top of that list far and away.
Carr.
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
It's like an expansion team thing, you know?
That's true, yeah. So head coach was Butch Davis. Remember that, which is a fucking fantastic name. Never beat the Patriots. The Pats went 2-0 against them. Some other notable coaches on this team, though, they're actually like some who's who of future head coaching failures, I thought. Offensive coordinator, Bruce Arians is probably the most successful of them all.
Wow.
Yep. He was the head coach of the Cardinals for 5 years and is now currently the head coach of the Buccaneers. Him of Jameis Winston fame.
I like
30 and 30.
I think he's a good coach.
Yeah, but wasn't he the guy that talked about like he used to drink paint as a kid? Did I make that up?
I'll stat check.
Yeah. I feel like there was some quote about him in somewhere about him like either eating paint chips or like drinking paint as a kid.
Right, Andy.
Yeah? Bruce
Bruce Arians said on Sirius today that he had to get his stomach pumped twice when he was younger from drinking paint.
So not once, but twice.
Yes, he said that in 2017.
Yeah, I thought so. Secondary coach on this team was Todd Bowles, the old Jets head coach. Remember him?
Yep.
We liked playing against him. The Patriots were 8-1 against Todd Bowles coached Jets teams.
What happened on that loss?
I don't know off the top of my head, but my guess it was probably like a week 17 throw your backups in game.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Or actually, no, wasn't that? I feel like Todd Bowles. Oh, who was that Jets quarterback? After Sanchez, I think it was like the Virginia Tech guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's his name?
Greg.
Stat check.
I want to say Quincy Carter, but it's not Quincy Carter.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, thank you. Yeah, I think it was the Geno Smith era, and he had one
good job,
game.
Greg.
That was West Virginia, but who's
it was okay.
Yeah,
close enough. Yeah, so I think that was during those days, and there was one game where Geno Smith just went off randomly and beat the Patriots. So that was probably that one win.
I remember. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think I'm assuming that was Todd Bowles because, I mean, they've had a lot of dark moments, but Todd Bowles was one of the darker ones. And then the secondary coach was our old friend Chuck Pagano.
wow,
White collar in history.
Right, yeah, it was because he is the swinging gate fake punt Chuck Pagano, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
The greatest play in special teams history. I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, so hang on. Was Todd? No. Okay, never mind. I was hoping that Todd Bowles was the coach of the butt fumble game, but that's not the case.
Hear me?
That was.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just hopped onto my Zoom meeting. My AirPods are connected to the Zoom meeting, so we're locked and loaded. Continue on with your show.
We'll leave that in. Fuck it.
That's what I'm saying.
So I took a quick look at the roster of this team, tried to put together a list of people that even like you may have heard of. And the only two people that I had heard of were Tim Couch and Phil Dawson, the kicker. The other names I didn't recognize.
You don't remember Gerard Warren, the defensive lineman that played for like 27 years. You don't remember Earl Little, the safety?
Nope.
Dennis Northcutt rang a bell when I heard.
Northcutt for sure, and Kevin Johnson.
His bell rang. Kevin Johnson, I had no idea, but he was great.
By the way, I just want to point this out. I have the Zoom app because I use it for work. Every time Greg talks, it says Kelly Brown when he speaks.
Yeah.
So I just want that on. I want that on record. Greg.
How do you feel about that, Greg?
You know what? I'm a modern man, and I'm.
He actually took her first name and she took his last name. So they're both Kelly Brown now.
Holy shit, that is progressive.
It's fucking me up every time Greg talks. It says Kelly Brown is speaking, and it makes sense.
Yep.
I did recognize Corey Fuller, I think, but I don't know if that's because he had a good game in this game.
You're thinking of the wide receiver Corey Fuller that was actually on the Browns a couple years ago.
See, that could be it too.
It's a different Corey Fuller.
Yeah. Apparently, Jamar Miller was like a Pro Bowl, first team All Pro. Was he a linebacker? And he looked the part, but we still never heard of him. Don't remember him.
And
it's just a who's who of just failures.
In terms of Browns defense, this is what bothers me. Is there's a guy named Wally Rayner that had 13 tackles that game. I'm upset that I have never heard of a guy named Wally Rayner.
Nope. None of these guys. Because, I'm putting in all the league. Their leading running back was James Jackson. 1, never heard of him. 2, he finished with 554 rushing yards.
Yeah, never heard of him either.
Leading rusher on this team.
So part of the reason, right, is because of the whole relocation, right?
Yes. So, because that had just happened recently.
Yeah.
So they were the new Browns.
The new Browns resumed play in 1999. So they're 2 years back into their, brand new franchise, essentially.
I can't believe Bill gave up on a franchise like this. It's really blowing my mind.
Well,
hey, they gave up on him.
Yeah.
They did give up on him. He wanted to stick around.
Yeah.
And did you hear how it went down?
I think so. I've heard a few different versions.
So,
I don't know what you've heard.
So Belichick makes the playoffs, right? That
Right.
1 year.
Yeah.
They went 11-5. The next year, they're like, it's week 5. And that's when Art Modell, he decides he's going to announce that they're moving the team. The middle of the season.
Right. Right.
Like, what a ridiculous move. So
so the whole team quits on the season, of course.
They win 5 games that year, and then Belichick's gone.
But then that also plays into the Jets situation because people shit on Belichick for bailing on the Jets position. But if people remember back then, there was also an ownership change, or it was at least rocky because they didn't know if they were going to sell the team. And so I'm pretty sure Belichick didn't want to be a head coach for the second time and then have the team move or some janky crap happen. So, it'll look pretty bad. But if we look back at history, I think it's a understandable move.
Yeah. And I think you can also point out the fact that the last coach to take the Browns to a playoff victory is still, to this day, Bill Belichick.
It's true.
Beating our New England Patriots, actually, in that playoff game.
Imagine this podcast for the Browns. They went through every game from 2001.
We should start that, Greg. Just me and you, Browns on Browns.
Yeah.
I like that name.
And just go back and just shit on the Browns starting in 2001.
Hey, you got the name of the podcast. It's called Shit Brown. There you go. Boom.
Beautiful.
Is that not insane though? That you imagine being a Browns fan. You're like you want to start a podcast. This one, I was like, oh my God, there's so much longevity to this. You start with Tom Brady's first game, and you have 19 years. It's like we're gonna have a podcast forever. You do the Browns, and you're like, well, we're done. All right.
When do you even start with that?
Thanks for coming back. You guys want to cover some of those 1960 Jim Brown games? Let's go play by play. Yeah,
I feel like those games would be tough to cover because I don't think they had TV back then. So finding video of that probably doesn't exist.
You can't look this up, but imagine Jim Brown breaking a tackle of 180-pound linebacker that you've never heard of. Do you have the visual? Do you have the visual?
Used to be a part-time mechanic while also playing football.
Yeah.
Otto Graham. Goes 4 for 6 through the air for 27.
Dude, this is sounding better and better by the second.
9-0.
Browns on Browns, I'm telling you. Wait for that spinoff. I can feel it.
We got something.
That's how we expand our audience, Andy.
Absolutely, yeah. But Browns fans and Patriots fans, they're two audiences ripe for the picking, I'm sure. Not that I think there's many Browns fans left, probably, but
I don't know. They do need a boost for those that are left.
All right, so maybe we'll bring our massive star power to the Browns as well.
I can't wait.
By the way,
Speaking
boys,
of the Browns, go ahead.
This is just a side note. I got text confirmation Tully Banta Kane is ready to join the podcast starting in 2003. So we have some ground to make up.
Yep.
But he did tell me that I would be allowed to ask him on air how big Tom Brady's dick is. So can we get to 2003 as soon as possible?
Yeah,
Whoa,
I have some things to ask him about. I'm interested in this.
All right, I like this guy. He's bringing some things to the table here.
I've got some questions to ask Tully Banta Kane about Kelly Brown, actually.
Yep.
So we definitely need to have him on the podcast.
Confirm the rumors.
Exactly. Yeah, if he knows what was it called? The credit card is.
Yeah, the credit card swipe.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll tease that for fucking 2 seasons from now.
well, Christian Fourier said that Tom Brady's nickname was Driftwood Tommy, and I want to know what exactly he means by driftwood. Like, what are we talking here?
Yeah, that's kind of ambiguous.
You think that's going to come out like when Brady retires?
Is it because it's soft and smooth? I don't
think so.
Yeah. Now, breaking news, Tom Brady's dick is the size of a log that has been out at sea for 3 years.
He does have what do they call that? That big dick energy? Is that what it is?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, he's got that big dick energy.
Seems that way.
Tommy Longcock.
Greg dresses him for Halloween.
That's
completely anatomically correct.
Yep.
God damn it! All right, speaking of big dicks, let's talk about our boy Tim Couch. I feel like we should probably start with him because for some reason I remember seeing highlights of this. I think it was like when I was putting together the website, and all the highlights are basically Tim Couch getting just absolutely the shit kicked in. It's the fact that he survived this football game kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it's Tim Couch running for his life. He went 20 for 39, 20 for 39 in this game.
Yeah, his first pass attempt, like to set the tone of this game, second play from scrimmage, he drops back, and I think it was Teddy Bruschi just puts his face mask right in his chest as he's throwing the ball and turns into a duck, and he gets picked off, like literally second play of the game.
I think it was Bucky Jones with that one.
Yeah, exactly. And it went downhill from there. It was not great. And then he actually had one drive that was good, and he got all the way down, like in the first quarter, got all the way down, and then threw a touchdown on third down, but even that got overturned. So it was just not his day.
Well, but I don't know if it was necessarily his fault, though, because there were parts of the game, man, he was looking like Steve Young running around and flinging it. The problem is that he was getting smashed on every play. So it's hard to tell if it was like his fault or, I mean, the line didn't help for sure. But I don't know if that guy ever got like a fair shake in this game.
I don't think he's shaking his career.
No, exactly.
I mean, he's drafted by an expansion team first overall, right? And then he only played 5 years in the NFL. Or only
holy crap,
games in 5 seasons, all with the Browns. So he never even got that, like, every first pick overall that busts always gets that second, third, fourth team. He never had him for him.
That's crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Man, Greg, nice.
Also, he was responsible for 4 turnovers in that game, 3 picks and a forced fumble by my boy Tabucky. What a name, by the way.
Well, I don't know if he was responsible for that, though.
Maybe he recovered the fumble. I'm sorry.
You're talking about Tabucky Joe. I thought you were talking about Tim Couch.
Tim
Couch was responsible for a lot of things.
Tim Couch was responsible for 4 he was involved in 4 turnovers in that game, 3 picks. And
yeah, that's true. And then he completed the pass that was then fumbled.
Yeah, that's what it was. Tabucky had a pick and a forced fumble in that game.
Yeah. I mean, the first fumble was because Northcutt literally got knocked the fuck out as he was like after he caught the ball.
He should have South cut.
Oh, that's so bad. I love it. Yeah, he should have cut anywhere but north. You're absolutely correct. Although for a second there, I thought you said self cut, and I thought that was.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh man, it's too early. No, but the guy's trying to make plays, so of course every once in a while it's going to sail on him or whatever. But I mean, he was pretty much the only playmaker on the field. They had nobody.
Yeah, there was nothing. Because I mean, even one of those interceptions, he hit the guy straight in the hands. He just bobbled it, and it was picked off by which defensive line was Anthony Pleasant, I think, ended up with the interception. It was, yeah.
It was Anthony Pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah. For probably his only ever interception of his career, I have to guess.
Oh, wait.
Stat check. Alexa.
There's so many names on this Pats defense that just, God, I love those early teams in terms like Anthony Pleasant. We'll get to Roman Pfeiffer later. Maybe the most underrated Patriots defensive player of like the early 2000s. But God, there's some fucking great names. Patrick Pass, who was our fullback, had 3 tackles in that game. God, he must have just been doing work on either kickoff or punt.
Yeah, special teams. Yeah.
Patrick Pass, that's my fucking guy.
Yeah. So Pleasant had 2 career interceptions.
2? All right. Wow.
8 career sacks. It's not bad.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, they say he's a defensive end, but he didn't feel like a defensive end.
Yeah.
Does this still happen?
Yeah,
does this still happen where you have like your 3 main linebackers and they all have like 10 plus tackles in a game? Does this still happen in the NFL or on the Patriots? Because I'm looking at Roman Pfeiffer, Mikey Vrabes, and Teddy Ice Cold, and they all had 10 plus tackles in this game. And it's like, does that even happen in the NFL anymore when you have
I
all
don't
3
even
linebackers?
think you really have 3 linebackers on a field anymore with how spread open things are. Like you'll have 2 and then you'll maybe have like an extra safety come down to the box or something like that, like a Patrick Chung sort of thing with an extra DB on there.
Yeah. Roman Pfeiffer was definitely one of those like hybrid outside linebackers, like an Elvis Doomerville or, not a traditional linebacker, especially in today's day and age. But I'm looking at it right now, and it's like Pfeiffer, Bruschi, and Vrabel. 11 tackles.
Kind of like a Willie McGinnis sort of that right. Sort of frame. Yeah.
Hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah. I did catch the when you were talking about underrated players on this defense, the commentators at one point they're like, oh, I think one of the most underrated players on this defense is Teddy Bruschi. And I thought to myself, of all the people you can pick on this defense, I don't know if he's the one I would have pulled out, but maybe he was at that time.
Yeah, but they were referencing that he was like he was a backup before there were injuries. So I think he was underrated.
It was 2001. It was 2001, Andy. He probably was an underrated, underused linebacker on the team. He probably didn't come into his own. You didn't start seeing like Teddy Bruschi throwing up the snowballs during the snow game, like until like the 2003, 2004 was, 2003, 2004 era. Teddy Bruschi wasn't like an everyday starter until then.
Yeah, and I believe that Ted Johnson was like above him on the depth chart until he got injuries.
But that's what I thought until I'm just looking it up right this second. It was stat checking shit now these days. And 99 and 2000, both years he had 108 tackles.
Yeah,
So
I retract my. Yep.
I know that, but I mean that's what I thought too, especially the way they were talking about him, about how he's this young up and comer. But I mean, he'd been on the team since '96 apparently. Didn't start any games. Yeah, didn't start many games until '99. He started 14 games and then 16 games the year after, or the year before this one.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
you're right. They were kind of. It's almost like they never discovered him. I mean, to be fair, the Patriots were obscure anyway, so maybe it was just that they were getting a little bit better and they noticed him.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I mean, I will say, Teddy Bruschi, man, I don't know if there's been another linebacker that just flies around, tackle or no tackle. Usually not tackling, but he's just flying from off screen to somewhere. And I've never seen anybody else quite do it like him.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things to remember from these teams is that picture of Teddy Bruschi just running at, like, on a blitz and just running at the guy, usually the running back that steps up to block him. He just literally just tries to jump over him every time.
Yep.
Gets clipped in the legs, but still just like his body hurtles into the quarterback and just knocks him over like feet first or some bullshit.
All right, you guys have 2 seconds to respond. What position? Where did Teddy Bruschi go to college, and what position did he play?
Arizona.
Yes, he did.
He was a safety.
He was a tight end, though, wasn't he?
He was a safety in Arizona.
Safety?
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but it's on air. It's on record. I'm pretty sure he was a safety at Arizona. The point being, though, he's massively undersized. He's always just been a fucking bowling ball of hate, apparently.
Yeah, he's 6'1", 247, which not huge nowadays linebackers I think have kind of gotten smaller in general because they have to be quicker. But in this 2001 day and age where everybody was just bigger in general, it seems like. I mean, you look at the tight ends of these games, and they all look like they're the same size as Rob Gronkowski. They're just basically an extra lineman with hands.
Yeah.
Everybody looks lower, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like just a little bit. Yeah. The game wasn't about speed. It was about size. Because didn't Bill Parcells have some comment about he built big teams because as the season goes on, fast teams get slower, but big teams never get any smaller or something like that.
Yeah,
but they also probably get slower. So
this is true, but they start slow, so it doesn't matter. So that gap closes,
right?
But the size never changes.
I guess that's true.
The best Parcells quote is about being able to pick the groceries when he went to the Cowboys. He's like, I want to pick the groceries, and I couldn't. It's like, amen. And that's one thing about Bill. That's why he's never leaving the Pats. Bill gets to pick the groceries, and fucking Robert Kraft signs the checks. Bill builds his fucking like obscure team where people were like, how is this going to work? And it's the same way that this is going to really blow you guys' mind. The same way that Herb Brooks built the 1980 U.S. Olympic team that built the Russians. They're like, how is this going to work? And you just gotta fuck with the vision. You got to fuck with the vision. And that's that.
Or you said you need to have a system. Yeah, I think that's a surprisingly apt analogy from someone like Connor.
And that quote was about, Parcells was upset because he was forced to draft Terry Glenn.
Yes.
And,
yes, that's right.
And speaking of Terry Glenn, he made an appearance this season.
Nicely done. That was a hell of a segue. Right? Yes, he actually finally played in this game. The Boston Globe had shit ton of articles. The whole thing was, will he actually play or not? Because they settled their differences or some bullshit, and he was kind of healthy. But did you actually see? They showed the clip of. We talked about it last week or the week before about the interview that he gave, where he basically said, "Yeah, I'm hurt because I'm not getting paid, and I'm not getting paid, so I'm going to be hurt." Sort of bullshit.
Right. He said, I did want to be part of the Patriots.
Yes.
D-I-D did. So if that's not clear.
Right. But his outfit on that was phenomenal.
Dude, he has style.
He had the cornrows, which I'm assuming were a thing back in 2001. I'm just gonna guess because he was a stylish man. So,
ever heard of Allen Iverson, Andy?
Yeah.
Good call.
Yes, I'd say that cornrows were a thing back in 2001. Yes.
I don't follow Allen Iverson's hairstyle career in terms of time frame.
He only had one.
That's all. That's all he ever had. That doesn't
Pretty
feel
much.
Right. But yeah, so he had the cornrows, and then he had those like I don't even know how you describe those sunglasses. They're almost like clear reflective sunglasses that were like wraparounds. I don't even know
Andy,
if they were sunglasses.
Let's honor the dead. Terry Glenn and his son have passed on to the afterlife. Let's not be too disrespectful, but
I'm talking about how
we have
great
touched on this in the past, but you are correct.
Yeah.
What a waste of talent. All right, I'll just dive in right now. Terry Glenn, what a fucking waste of talent. He could have been so good. I mean, he was good.
He was when he was on the field. Yeah, he just couldn't stay on the field.
96 to 98, he was probably like a top 10 wide receiver.
Dude, he caught 90 balls as a rookie.
Yeah.
1,100 yards.
What year was that, Kelly?
96.
96.
Yeah.
That's their Super Bowl year, right? The first one?
It was, yeah. Yeah, as soon as he gave Drew Bledsoe a weapon, they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
His playing style matched up with Drew's perfectly because Drew was so in love with his arm, and he just did the whole like, fuck it, Terry's down there somewhere, and Terry was like, the perfect. Terry would just be going long, and Drew would just hit him. But
so similar to like Tom Brady and Randy Moss.
Yeah, or you've seen the Eli Manning meme where his eyes are closed and he's throwing the ball and he's like, fuck it. OBJ.
Manning hands down there.
Yeah, Manning hands down there somewhere.
Yeah.
Or something like
Exactly.
Joe Flacco, jump ball Joe.
Yeah, exactly the same idea.
Joe Flacco's best play was the throw it deep, get the defensive pass interference. That was by far his best
Constantly.
Play.
Oh, absolutely.
Or let Bolden body someone.
Right, yeah.
All right. Okay, so week 13, 2000, what do you think was the game-changing play in this game? I think everyone probably thinks it's the same one, but I have one that's in mind. I just want to hear what other people think.
Well, I'm a Troy Brown stan, so I'm going to go with his punt return touchdown.
That's the only answer.
Well, I was going to jump in with, it's not a play, but the 2-minute drill before the half was a statement drill as well.
Solid.
It's not one play, so I'll give you that, but I loved watching it, and I think it set the tone for the second half.
Yeah, if NFL Films is doing a turning point, I think it could be either of those situations.
Oh, I agree.
One thing that sticks out to me, that's just a glaring difference between the early 2000s and today's football. Lawyer Malloy, maybe our best overall defensive player, he had the game-changing block that freed Troy Brown up for that punt return.
He did.
Do star defensive players stay in on punt returns anymore? I feel like that's just not a thing that happens anymore.
He's just on the Patriots, but it's always been like that for them. Although I think Belichick had been. I remember seeing something on one of those documentaries that have been doing about Bill Belichick this offseason, and they were talking about how he did the same thing in Cleveland on the Browns and had all his top guys on there, and it won them a whole bunch of games, literally on a punt return, a walk-off punt return for a touchdown that won them the game. So he that was part of his philosophy from day one, basically.
Yeah, wasn't there some stat from this year about how they were paying special teams players more than wide receivers?
Yes, guys that only played special teams, Matthew Slater and. But I think that's kind of the evolution of having the starters on there to literally just drafting guys who are starters on special teams now.
But that's such a bullshit strategy.
I think that was my point. I feel like you just don't see it. You know, they have entire personnel changes when the punt return, when they know the team's punting. And like, I was just reading up on it. It's like Richard Seymour, Lawyer Boy, and I think Vrabel were all out on punt return. And you know what could have been a major driver behind that? Do you remember when Gronk broke his forearm on a fucking extra point?
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
Do you remember? I
In
don't
garbage
know
time.
in garbage time, and he's been. I bet he probably still wears that fucking robot thing on his arm, even though he's not even playing. I don't want to say that it was the major driver behind it, but like I feel like early 2000s, just a whole different animal. You had your best players out on your punt return.
And on that punt return, to add to your point, that was a nasty Laura Malloy block. But then Richard Seymour, like you mentioned, was out there. He blasted the kicker on top of it.
That was gonna be my best. Watching 6'7", 350-pound Richard Seymour just basically just walk right into the punter, and the guy just falls over like he's been hit by a truck. It was fantastic.
Danced away like I didn't do that.
Yeah, he's actually got his hands up as he's doing it, and the guy still falls over. That's perfect.
Well, and to put into perspective that, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, to put it into perspective, like game-wise, and correct me if I'm wrong because I slipped up last week, so whatever. But at this point, it was like 10-10 in the second quarter. I think it was like 4 minutes left, and the Troy Brown punt return touchdown for 85 yards made it 17-10. So it was definitely a turning point in the game for those that are curious where we're at this point. But go on, Connor.
No, I'll even add on top of that. I think that we got the ball back at half and we scored right at half. That punt return actually turned into a sizable 2-score lead. And by sizable 2-score lead, that makes no fucking sense because it's a 2-score lead. But
it's redundant.
No, you're right. You're right.
We got the ball back at half. I'm pretty sure we scored after half.
It was right before half.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Did they get the ball?
Yeah, in that 2 minutes. So after the punt return, the Browns like drove straight down the field in like 3 plays. And then Tim Couch threw a pick to Terrell Buckley. And then the Pats, they had the ball on their own like 20 or 30 with like just over a minute left, but they actually drove down the field instead of, and the commentators actually made some comments about how it was a whole different philosophy because Patriots in the past would have just like taken a knee and gone to halftime, but the Patriots actually drove down the field and Adam Vinatieri kicked the field goal with like a couple seconds left. So now they're up 10 points going into the half. They're up 20-10.
It's actually like even similar to the Super Bowl too.
That's what I was thinking. It's definitely foreshadowing that, Greg.
It's a minute 17. They have it on their own 30.
Yep.
And
situational football, baby.
They do 4 plays, don't get anywhere, and then they have a big pass to Troy Brown, sets it up, and then they kick a field. It's almost like the sequencing is the same.
That's true.
Can I dive into that cliche even more?
Yeah.
Adam Vinatieri was the best player on that team. Obviously, you're going to fucking drive down the field no matter how much time is left because you want to put the ball in the best player on your team's hands. And that's not me saying that. That's what Bill Belichick, dude. That's what Bill Belichick was saying. He was saying Adam Vinatieri was the best player on that team. I swear to God, that is a direct quote. And this isn't from that year. I'm talking about years later, Bill Belichick thinking back to that team. He says that direct quote. Adam Vinatieri was the best player on that team. So,
which is interesting because he even missed 2 kicks in this game.
Yeah.
And you don't say that.
What does that say?
It's true. and he hasn't been nearly as consistent throughout this season so far as I remember. Because when you think of Adam Vinatieri, you think of him just never ever missing kicks and always making the big ones. But this season especially, I thought he hasn't been who I remembered him to be.
I'm pretty sure from, was it like week 14? I don't know. This is not an absolute stat, but it's close. From week 14 on, I don't know if Adam Vinatieri missed a field goal the rest of the year. It might maybe one.
Ooh.
And this is
That
the
sounds
year.
familiar, yeah.
And this is the year that we went on to win our first Super Bowl. I swear to God, maybe it was not as cool as week 14, but I swear to God, he started a week and he didn't miss a field goal the rest of the season, and he was the best player on the team.
Well, Connor, I'm interested in your take, as we talked about this in a previous episode before. But so you're saying that he got pretty automatic as the season went on, but obviously he was struggling in the early part of the season. Same thing with Tom Brady. He had his bumps and bruises. There were some perfect games, and then so far we've seen some kind of ducks thrown in and all that. And Bill's philosophy at that time was, ride those guys, right? He had faith in them. And I think nowadays he would have a little bit of a shorter leash for the same scenario with Gostkowski or like some other guys. So what are your thoughts on his like departure of philosophy, or is it the same philosophy and I'm misreading it?
I think you're right in the middle, because I don't think Vinatieri, I think week 14 in 2001, maybe the rest of his career never had as bad of a stretch as Gostkowski had. I don't know. You remember those games, Mike, Andy, Greg. When have you, like a kick, like a 35-yard field goal, have you ever, during the Vinatieri era, were you ever like, oh my God, I'm worried? Gostkowski has missed those over and over again. He's so like, Vinatieri had a run where you knew no matter what, it was automatic. 40 to 45 yards, it was automatic. He hit most of the 50-plus yarders, but 45 yards, you could just you're like, I'm going to go get some more chips and dip. Like, you knew he was hitting it. Gostkowski, you're like, are we going to lose this game because he can't kick a 40-yard field goal in a dome? Like, it could be a dome. I'm telling you.
That's a fair point. I mean, it's the eyeball test.
But you know what, Mike, you're also right, though, because I bet Bill Belichick's philosophy is the exact same. But I don't think he ever got to the point with Vinatieri where he needs to start bringing in these fucking journeyman kickers. Like,
right?
You remember fucking Bill Belichick having 57-year-old Morton Anderson in for a tryout because Vinatieri was fucking unreliable? No.
That's true.
But yes,
They haven't had kickers in because Gostkowski's unreliable. It's because he was hurt.
Yeah, but was he like? I don't know, man. Was he hurt for 3 seasons?
No.
But it's all about
did Vinatieri miss an extra point in his entire career after like week 14, 2001? Granted, it was from 20 yards, 25 yards?
Yeah,
I know it's 30.
It's not comparable at all.
He actually has missed some, yes.
During his dominant run with the Pats?
Yes.
Which one?
Let's see. 1, 2. He missed 3 in 1, 2, 3, 5 years.
All right, Connor.
From the 2-yard line, the short kicks.
Guess what his field goal percentage was in 2001?
Me and Greg are looking at the same thing.
No. Ask me what his field goal percentage was in 2004.
Just answer the question.
In 2001?
The year we're talking about. Yes, 2001. 80%, Connor. You kicked 80% that year. That's not great. You have small brain syndrome. You only remember the kicks that were big. How many field goals? How many attempts? How many attempts? Gostkowski sucks.
Dude, he had 30 attempts, 30 field goals, and he made 24 of them.
So name a kicker that's attempted over 40 field goals and has had a better percentage. No, I want Vinatieri's best year, not 2001 when he had a rocky start to the year. Andy, Mike both brought it up. He went on a run after week 14 and was the most reliable person on the team.
Okay, you want to hear
48 yards in fucking 3 feet of snow?
So nobody's saying he's not clutch.
83.8%. Gostowski, 87.4%.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Gostowski is more accurate, technically.
More accurate kicker, without a doubt.
Yeah, but to Connor's point, though, it's the eyeball test, because if you remember, and I hate to bring this up and we'll talk about it later, but perfect season, right? Super Bowl, right before half, Gostowski was given an opportunity, or there was an opportunity to kick. Belichick decided to go for some bullshit 4th and 20 or whatever it was instead of going for the kick. And if it was Vinatieri, I know. I'm sorry, but it's to prove your point, Connor. Vinatieri passed the eyeball test.
Well, he was more clutch, right? We can agree on that.
Right.
I like yelling.
All of the
funny.
numbers,
I know.
Greg, Andy, all of the numbers for every statistic are inflated now. It is the score points league. Dude, we are talking about 2001. Tom Brady had the most. It's like, dude, Tom Brady in this
For
game against the
offenses,
Browns.
sure, but how has kicking changed?
Connor, you're an idiot. If anything, they're lower because they moved back the extra point. Kicking,
Exactly. Yeah.
it hasn't changed outside of the extra point rule ever.
And you know
So
who
what's
has
gonna-
the record for most consecutive extra points kicked in a row?
Yeah, Steven
Gostowski was like 570 something.
Yeah, so what was his rookie year? 2007? Not a bad time to
2006. 2006.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But we're not talking about totals here. We're talking about percentages, right?
Yeah.
Talking about accuracy.
So you're telling me the Tom Brady, Randy Moss, Wes Welker days didn't put the kicker in a better position to hit field goals than the Tom Brady fucking 17 for 26, no touchdowns, 220 yards, and a couple of like game-winning drives where Adam Vinatieri hit the field goal? Dude.
I mean, all right, fine. Connor makes another good point. He makes another good point. In this game alone, he's right. I can't disagree. In this game alone, to be fair, the majority of his kicks that were attempted were around 50 yards.
Dude.
Yeah, but that you got. Dude, there's no
Tom
stats on
Brady.
that.
Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns in 2007. I don't know how many touchdowns total. You got to add in fucking rushing touchdowns, defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Tom Brady was in the fucking red zone all game long. Gostowski had the easiest job in the game. I'm telling you, Vinatieri with early pre-ACL injury Tom Brady was kicking 40-plus field goals all day long. Gostowski was in like the 30, 35 range with the occasional 40 and like the ever fucking magical.
I was like, Greg, can we check that?
Greg, I don't need data. I've been watching the Pats since 1996. You were a fucking twinkle in your dad's eye in 1996. I've been watching the Patriots since 1996.
Are you two the same age?
You are a legitimate.
I'm a year older. I'm a year older,
okay.
but I'm a year older, but I know like his cognitive ability. Like he probably didn't start to really get the enjoyment of the Patriots until the year after that, which is why I always have the upper hand.
Look at you now, dude.
Well, Greg, I'm interested in the twinkle in your dad's eye. If you'd like to talk about that for a little bit,
or perhaps we go back to the Browns here, because I know people are fascinated by our kicker talk.
I'm gonna figure out the numbers on that.
All right.
Report back next week. Unless I'm wrong, then I won't.
I mean, game-wise, I will say this was a weird one because it felt like both teams were kind of just mucking around. Brady had his mistakes. Nothing was really like solid, especially in the first half. But they somehow made it work anyway. But throughout the game, no matter how one side sucked or another, it was pretty close to the end, which was surprising to me because it was so sloppy.
Yeah, and they were talking about how the the Browns were like +8 on the season in terms of turnovers, like turnover ratio.
People
It was
forget
like
how
third in the
good.
league.
People forget, dude. Earl Little was a stud. Earl Little was a stud. He was a safety for the Browns. Gerard Warren, in his Brown days, was a menace on defense. Like they're.
I mean, it must have been because
they had a good defense. There's some names that
Yeah.
were.
Dude,
well,
it's
the other
crazy.
stat that they showed, which makes that number even crazier, is that in the previous 2 games before this, the Browns had lost 8 fumbles in those 2 games.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so
But
that's a
dude-
-8, and they're still a +8 on top of that.
Dude, it's crazy though. They said up to this point, up to this week, they had 25 interceptions and 31 overall takeaways. That sounds like a shit ton.
Yeah, that's like one of those defenses that you expect to see at the top of the league that people talk about, but because their offense was so bad, and they'd still won 6 games, and you know the commentators again kept coming back to us like, this is how the Browns win games, is their defense keeps them in it, and they were talking about the Cleveland Browns bend don't break defense, which I thought was hilarious. And then hopefully somebody will make a play at some point, which I mean the Browns the defense did. They scored the only touchdown. Yeah, the Browns defense scored.
Was it a
Browns
pick?
touchdown.
Was it a pick six or a fumble? No, I think it was a pick six. It was.
Yeah, it was Brady's first pass. Was a pick six.
It was a
Yeah.
lob.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
No,
You know,
Corey Fuller.
and I agree with you, Andy. And then I think about some of those Pats defenses, and I was a big bend don't break. I was always like, when people were like, the Pats defense is so bad, they're 32nd in the league, and I was like a big bend don't break defense guy. I
Yeah,
was like,
yards versus points.
like,
I was the
listen,
same. Yeah.
the Pats are putting up 50 points a game. Obviously, these offenses are going to accumulate some yards and maybe score a point or two because they now have to throw 50 times a game to even try and keep up. And I was ride or die on the bend don't break defense. So watch it.
Oh yeah, I think most of us were. It's just funny just to listen to these guys talk about that from the Cleveland Browns standpoint.
It was brutal to watch, though.
yes.
Even until, like, recently. Like, I remember the first year, it didn't feel like that was when they got downer. And you're like, all right, now they're playing aggressive.
Yeah.
It was, like, so refreshing to, like, watch a defense, like, make plays.
Yeah, kind of like this defense has been doing all year.
Yeah.
This 2001 defense.
Yeah.
But just the level of violence that I thought this defense brought,
Bring the pain.
it's kind of shocked me compared to, because we're used to these, like all of these. Steve Brown said it before too, where you every play you look at, you're like that's probably a penalty this nowadays. Like every.
But is it though? Stop. Is it though? Because I was looking at that, man. Like one of the best hits I've ever seen was on Tim Couch, delivered by Brewski. Like knocked his head off, and that was legal, man, 100%. And
That's true.
a lot of these hits, man, it was like shoulder pads. They were just, I don't know if they were bigger, more aggressive. No idea.
I think a lot of it is the defenseless receiver stuff now.
Yes,
that was not
exactly.
a thing back then. And
That's true.
And
there's a lot of that in this game.
I completely agree with Mike Mello, though. I think back then, because it was way more violent, you had to play smarter, and you had to, like, there was more. I don't know how to explain it. There was more shoulder to shoulder tackles back then when it was more like the violence was actually more. I don't know. I feel like these people, the defenders especially, are so afraid to play defense because everything is a penalty now. They don't know what to do. So really they're just trying to like knock the guy's head off and just hope they stop him dead in his feet because they don't know what's legal and what's not anymore. That's defense has been getting screwed probably since the 07 Brady Moss, when they were like, all right, it's all about offense, fuck the defense.
I was going to say 04 when
Peyton
the
Manning.
the Colts got the rules changed.
Yeah,
That was the beginning of the end of defense.
So that's when it was 04.
Yeah.
Rule.
Okay, I said 07 because I thought we did it better than they did, which we did. But
I think that was Belichick's way of being like, hey, fuck you. You want to change the rules? Okay. I'll exploit that one instead. And that's exactly what he did.
agreed.
All right. Anybody else got any Any notes on this game? Greg, you want to bring up the score? Since we haven't mentioned the final score in any of these games, I don't think yet.
27-16.
There it is.
All right. Good job, Stat Guy.
I will say though, man, like I said, like the Pats were comfortable for a while, but Brady was just off. Now, to his credit, I mean, he had the composure to like just keep going, and he didn't fall apart, you know. But there was no Manning face on Brady's face in this game.
He just doesn't get rattled. Like,
right.
He'll throw a pick and he'll come back, and they're pointing it out that who's the offense coordinator? Charlie Weiss would come out, and the next three plays would be just like, all right, chuck it, but not even just like short passes. Like, all right, I want you to chuck it downfield 20 yards.
Right.
And, like, they just seem to have full confidence in him actually doing what he needed to do.
Dude, but it was crazy because it was 20-10, and this is one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen Brady throw. And he might have been getting like Bledsoe tips a little bit too much during game. Brady basically launches a ball as he's falling forward, and both of his like legs are almost off the ground, being like grabbed by like some defender. So he throws this nasty pick. They end up, that leads eventually to a Browns field goal, and it's 20-13, just like that.
Yeah.
By the way, Mike, that exact play, it was 3rd and long. And did you see Tom Brady's quote in the paper the day after? It's something you would never hear. You would never hear him. Well, luckily Andy uploads all the newspapers.
Yes, he does.
Like a goddamn
like a psychopath. Yeah, you can say it.
You are a psychopath, dude. Tom Brady goes.
What you don't know is I actually print these off and I have them up on my wall in my bedroom with all the pins connecting it. Beautiful.
I believe this.
It looks like the wall of like the war room in the CIA. There's like all these strings with fucking tacks leading to like one other clip. But Tom Brady in the paper goes, sometimes I need to stay in there and take more hits. And this is like, he's talking about it's 3rd and long. He's like, it's better basically to get hit and take a sack than do what I did on that play, that was the horrible interception you're talking about. Could you imagine post ACL tear Tom Brady when he changed his whole mindset on like health and what's important? Obviously, it's pliability.
Longevity.
It's pliability. I have his book.
Obviously,
it's all about pliability. But he's like, I need to stay in there and take more hits. That's just not something you would ever hear post 2007 Tom Brady ever say, and it just kind of speaks to how different his mindset was, and honestly how different the game was. The game has changed so much. Like quarterbacks don't get hit the way Tom Brady got hit back then, and he's fucking tough as nails. He's one of the toughest ever. And I'm done talking for the rest of the podcast, but I love Tom Brady.
No, that makes sense. I mean, it is funny. I like I'm a Brent Jones and Gus Johnson guy. I mean, we talk about these announcers pretty frequently. Oh my god! And you know, I don't think there's a football or not football this week, guys. I think I got most of it, but okay. But Jones goes. What did he say? He said a player's name wrong. And then he was like, I'm so sorry. It's actually this. And he goes, yes. I'm hearkening back to my playing days. And then Gus Johnson is like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, 6 concussions, I understand. And then like Brett Jones is like, what was your name again? And then Gus Johnson, ha, 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 ha. So like they're openly laughing about concussions back then. Definitely
about the fact that he had 6 concussions while playing.
Definitely a different time.
CTE, I don't even think that acronym was even a thing. CTE was not.
It wasn't.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Drew Bledsoe and how like when he got hit against the Jets the first time, and they're talking to the team trainer who was literally standing right there when he saw it happen. And he's like, I checked him out for concussion, but he seemed fine. So we put him back in the game. And then like the day after, all the players were like, yeah, he didn't actually know what play he was calling. So we told him he should be out here. So the players actually sent him back off the field because he was so bad. So concussions
where
were
am I?
completely involved back then. Yeah.
I also, by the way, the announcers were talking about how the night before they had dinner with Kraft, and Kraft paid for everything. And I was just wondering what else he paid for. Oh, no.
Oh, see, that's not where I thought you were going to go with that. I thought we were going to go with it's a slight take on your football, not football. It's Hall of Famer, not Hall of Famer.
Ooh.
Yes, Brent Jones. Did you catch
I know.
this?
I did. Yes, sir.
He was. They were congratulating him because he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I thought, you got to be fucking kidding me! Not another one. But it was actually the Division II Hall of Fame, and they showed a clip of his speech, and it sounded a little CTE. But his big joke was the fact that obviously the Division II guys are smarter because you know what? We've got the playoffs. And that was his bring down the house moment.
It was pretty
Andy,
good.
Do you think people didn't know that Drew Bledsoe was concussed is because he was basically just a traffic cone with arms? Even when he was a rookie, he was literally.
I'm a big fan of Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah,
I
love the guy.
Hey, boys. I'm 33 years old. The peak of my fandom might have been during the Drew Bledsoe days. I'm just saying he was a traffic cone with a right arm from his rookie year. That guy could not get out of the way of his. I mean, he probably had the worst like pocket aware, but he was one of those guys. His arm was so good, he thought he could make any throw on the field. I swear to God, Drew Bledsoe.
Except for a swing pass.
I was going to say, or a screen pass.
He's rifling that in regardless.
Yeah, he's like, what is a screen pass? I like, you know what I do. I fucking throw rockets all over the field. It's like, what's this nice touch pass you're talking about?
No, fuck that. Gun it in there. Amazing.
Greg?
All right.
Is Greg Brown gone?
Can I?
No, I'm here.
He's here. Probably stat
He's
checking.
just listening to this.
No, but what is your role on this podcast if you won't speak for 15 minutes, Greg?
Dude, well, when you run your mouth for 15 it's kind of hard to get a word in.
I took a lot of notes.
Well, Greg, you're doing a fine job with the stats. I really like what you're bringing to the game here.
And also, Greg, your brother is against you. I told him when you guys were talking about Tom Brady's looks and Greg cut in and said, would you bang him? It was laugh out loud funny. And the fact that Andy didn't cut that up and put that on social media lets me know that he doesn't want your career to take off. So it's not on me, Greg. You need to talk to Andy.
I'm here for the love of the game. You know, I'm not here for the publicity, the likes, the shares.
All right. Speaking of banging and all that other stuff, I let's try out a football or not football quickly on Connor and see what he thinks. So these things have popped up week to week because I just don't understand football, and Andy is smarter than I am, and Greg is smarter than I am, and Steve perhaps. So I like to rely on them to give me a little knowledge. So Brent Jones did say, and I quote, Santiago has two hands on it and just couldn't hold on. Santiago had two hands on it and just couldn't hold on. What does that mean?
Is that football or not football?
I don't know. He had two hands on it and just couldn't hold on.
Two hands on what?
You said Brent Jones?
Yeah, Brent Jones was saying that.
When was this? Is this like a day in sports and around the same time as week 13?
No, this is during the game. He just said Santiago had two hands on it. I'm kind of hazy on what that it is, and he just couldn't hold on.
So, you know what I think it might be is he had two hands on the marijuana that he was arrested for.
What? When was that?
No, in the paper, there was I was surprised to actually see him.
Are you talking about Greg? You talking about? Okay. Are you guys fucking with? We're not talking about the Browns O lineman, Greg. All right, Andy, because what you're saying is the Browns O lineman Greg Robinson just got arrested with like 170 pounds of weed, and now you're talking
Oh,
about something that happened during the broad. Who is Santiago? There's no
OJ Santiago.
Jose Santiago. Go fuck yourself.
Wait, Andy, clarify your statement. Who the hell went to jail for this?
I would actually clarify if Connor would shut the fuck up.
Wait, OJ Simpson is a different player, guys.
So in the Boston Globe, there was this tiny little blurb that caught my eye. It said warrant out for Santiago. A warrant was issued in Pittsburgh for the arrest of Cleveland Browns tight end OJ Santiago for marijuana possession, the Cleveland Plain Dealer reported yesterday. According to the paper, the warrant is connected to the November 20th arrest of defensive tackle Gerard Warren, who faces a charge of carrying unlicensed firearm in his car. During a search, police found marijuana, which they now believe belonged to Santiago. So the fact the fact that Santiago was actually allowed to play in this game surprised me. But so my guess is Brent Jones was talking about the fact that he was trying to hide his marijuana, and so he was trying to get both hands on it, but obviously couldn't, which is why he had the warrant out for his arrest.
That makes so much sense.
Brent Jones was trying to be clever in like that old fucking corny dad, like corny joke way. Yes. And Gerard Warren, you've seen his hair, and I'm not stereotyping. Obviously, he smokes weed. He looks like Afro Man. You ever heard his songs?
That's a deep cut.
All right, Andy, edit this out.
All right.
He just went. I'm not stereotyping, but he looks like Afro Man.
Well, no, he's talking about the.
But it's not even like they actually look alike, Greg. That wasn't just a broad
stat check that, Greg, please. Can you stat check that?
That's a
Greg, can you get on that, please?
But I'll look up a picture because I'm interested.
And I'll say while he's looking, Brent Jones said it.
Oh, it looks like Vince Wilfork when he shaved.
What? That is
wow.
Greg.
He looks exactly like Vince Wilfork when he has his head shaved.
That's racist.
Yes, he does. Greg, I'm obviously looking at pictures. Now look up Afro Man. It was not.
While that's happening, I just want to say,
yes,
Brent Jones also said, and I know this is early 2000s, and I don't know why he went this way. It was during a kick return, but he was like, "Oh, this is gay" at the 5. And then he's taken down at the 33-yard line. I don't know why he was saying that, but I don't agree with that.
Oh, that one I do know.
What is it?
Because the kick returner, and you can't make this up, his name was Ben Gay. I don't know if he was named after the, wasn't that like the icy hot stuff that you would rub on himself?
Are you serious? So that was football.
Yeah.
My apologies to Brent Jones.
Yeah, but the topical pain relief product Bengay, which I remember because in soccer in high school everybody used to rub it in other people's underwear and shit. So they're
what the fuck are you talking?
Tell me more, Andy.
That's all I know. Never happened to me. I guess people thought I was.
Did you ever do it to anybody?
No, I couldn't afford Bengay.
Did you ever watch somebody do it to anybody?
And then go home later and do it to yourself?
Answer the question.
I plead the fifth. But his name is literally Ben Gay, running back.
Wow. All right. Well, then I take it back, Brent Jones.
You want to hear a funny story about people with the last name Gay?
Where's this going, Greg?
At UNH, we were like,
I might be cutting this out too.
We went to an away game on the soccer team, and like they wouldn't get many fans, but one game, I don't know where it was. They must have got a hold of like the rosters as they were walking in.
Oh boy.
Like 15 kids. There's a kid on my team named Pat Gay. And they just showed up and they were like, "Where is Gay? Put 170 pounds of Gay."
I don't condone any of this.
It's so funny.
This is just.
And so this was your teammate?
I'm appalled by this.
Yeah, it's a teammate.
How did he think? How did he feel about all this? Dude,
he didn't acknowledge it at all.
I mean, like at that point, like when you get to college, right? I'm sure you've heard all of that.
Oh yeah. He thought it was funny.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Just a good example.
That's not good. Okay, Greg, that's
Like,
Well,
they're gay. Dude,
it's
No.
definitely not as
I'm sorry you have to listen to this, Connor. This is a shame.
well. No, it's not as creative as the stuff Gregory would say during his I guess fandom, if you will.
yeah.
Remember, we went to a Lowell Spinners game. Three brothers and dad, and
Hey,
it was so the heckling was so bad that dad left us and just drove home. We had to find our own way home.
What did you say, Greg? And I'm bracing myself.
Well, he tried to fight the mascot at one point. I think that was dad's tipping point. He was heckling the mascot.
That's not bad. Once I started drinking, then it got bad.
How old were you?
Greg loves to start the fight, and he's not one to finish the fight. I've noticed that about him.
Oh, shots fired there, Greg.
No,
that's a Brown thing right there.
CC, any Buffalo trip we've been on, he's got the biggest mouth in the entire group. He's got a anatomically correct size blow up of Tom Brady's dick strapped around his legs, and he's walking around Buffalo telling people, Tom Brady, this is an anatomically correct size of Tom Brady. Walking around Buffalo, and then people get pissed, and guess who steps to the back of the line and doesn't want to be a part of any of the physical altercation? It's Greg Brown.
Why is there physical altercation over there? That's just good, clean fun right there.
Yeah, we're just having fun, dude.
Yeah.
He's just playing off of his nickname, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had some beers thrown at me, like when I was up top of the camp.
Wait, what was Tom Brady's nickname again? Something Driftwood?
Driftwood Tommy. Yeah.
There you go. There's proof right there.
My point being, Greg is, I mean, Andy, you know, he's an all-time shit talker.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's in the blood. It's in the blood, Greg.
I think it's a Brown family thing.
I think, you know, Greg's definitely got over Steve besides everything.
Jesus.
Delivery. Greg has a good delivery of his shit talk. Steve, he's witty.
Steve's a bit too aggressive on his delivery, I think.
And I also must admit to the whatever listener out there that Greg does resemble a little tiny bit.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Tom Brady a little bit. No. I know.
Oh,
what?
That's I know. Never mind. Cut that out.
He resembles who?
Driftwood Tommy. I don't know in that department, but
keep going, Mike.
Greg Brown.
He's almost there.
If we're not talking about like facial structure, right? Because I mean, Tom Brady is infinitely. No, Greg Brown looks nothing like Tom Brady. No.
I retract my statement then. I apologize.
I always said that I look like Tom Brady, except I'm more athletic and I have a better looking wife.
I like that.
That's
we can listen
smooth.
to this? Because that was pretty good.
I just choked. I just spilled my Greg. and the better looking wife. Oh my God.
Good.
You're out of your fucking mind. That's
Shout out Kelly Brown right there.
Hey man. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
The more patient wife, that's for sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot we were on a podcast when Greg said that. I was taking a swig out of my water bottle and I literally choked on it.
It's all right. It's all fair game.
Oh, Jesus.
Should we talk about the last big play of the fourth quarter to wrap this up?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone wants to hear is the last big play of the fourth quarter game from 2001.
Well, actually, how about we do this? How about we do best and worst? And Mike, you can start with your big play.
I'm gonna have the big play, which is my best, and then like a little best. So the whole I wrote "Holy crap" best right there. It was with 8 minutes left. So it was third down. The Patriots. There was a penalty for holding, and at this point they were in field goal range. And instead of pushing them back and making them do it again, the Browns declined the penalty. So it's fourth down. They get into a field goal formation. It's a 52-yard attempt, and they hike the ball. They catch everybody off guard. Vinatieri pooches it.
Yeah, they snapped it directly to Vinatieri, which I thought was an impressive snap.
Yep, I agree. I didn't even know what was going on. I had to play it back like 3 times. I was like, what just happened? But and then it was down by Jermaine Wiggins with like a crazy athletic play at the 1. And I feel like that pretty much sealed the deal. But you guys could
yeah, and I think watching Jermaine Wiggins hustle 40 yards downfield to tap the ball from going into the end zone, like as he's kind of diving for it, made me realize how unathletic Jermaine Wiggins was. To the point where I would love to see him and Vince Wilfork play one-on-one basketball, because I think Wilfork would fucking toast him.
Oh, it wouldn't even go close.
Like, I love Wiggy, and he's a character, and he's, he makes some big plays, and the snowball and such. But this was a phenomenal play, but not so much of an athlete. Yeah. That dude, he was like, when we were talking before about how big these guys are, and the tight ends were just like extra linemen who can catch. Basically, I was thinking of Jermaine Wiggins when I said that.
Well, I'll also say, since we were talking about kickers and punters in the past, so Ken Walter this season, I guess he was averaging almost 40 yards a punt. Not the greatest. Ooh. So they put it into Vinatieri's hands.
That's true.
That's pretty bad.
And it was the perfect punt.
It was awesome. All right, so that was my best, I guess you could say. And then my other best of the game was a run up the middle by Mark Edwards, which is not a big deal. But then, sorry, man. But I'll let you take that one.
All right.
Take that one. So I'll leave that alone. I'll tackle worst.
Ooh,
so worst moment of the game, and I hate to shit on these kids, and it's probably their parents' fault. They're Patriots fans with face paint, and it looked like the French flag. So I gotta give it a negative for that. A for effort, but negative execution. Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
That's tough. Yeah, that's bad parenting. Is what that is.
Yeah, shit parents.
Yeah, not great.
Yes, it is a nice touchdown.
Parents are probably Browns fans.
Like that French accent?
Yeah, that's dead on. You nailed it.
Workshop for a while.
All right, so I'll go next because Mike tried to steal my thunder. My best was Tom Brady's physicality, and so Mike was starting to allude to it, but it was a Mark Edwards fullback dive right by the end zone, and it was a bunch of pushing and shoving, and somebody like one of the big defensive linemen tried to like push him and like bend him in half, and so Tom Brady came out of nowhere and just shoved this massive defensive lineman, who then turned around and realized it was Tom Brady and started stomping towards him. And I haven't seen Brady move that quickly away from somebody, like even when he has the football. But there was that, but there was also the fact they ran that reverse again that they've been running with David Patton, and Tom Brady was again the lead blocker, and he threw a legitimate lead block on this game. Did you guys catch this one?
Yeah, it might have been like illegal kind of, but it was
a cut block. That was legal. He dove at the guy's legs. But I mean he caught him, and it wasn't even like a defensive back. It was like a linebacker.
Yeah, it was.
It took the guy clean out of the play. And even I think it was Brent Jones was commenting about how it's going to suck to watch that tape because you never want to get blocked by a quarterback. So Tom Brady, and then I think you can tack on what Connor was saying about his comments after the game about how he should take more hits in the pocket. So just psycho Tom Brady is my best in this game. Let's see, my worst. Well, this game, I don't really have a real worst, but this game had some commercials in it. I don't know if you guys skipped them or not, but
I watched all of them.
I had two favorites. Yeah, I had two favorites. One was a commercial for the Palm Pilot.
Oh,
right. You remember the Palm Pilot? So that was fantastic. It was just like top of the line technology, and they were like $300. And I remember our mom having one of all of it because I think Dad used to work for Palm, so he got some Palm Pilots for free, and Mom used to love her Palm Pilot.
Like the hype for Palm Pilots.
Yeah, and that flame burnt fast and strong and real quick.
It was just like a scheduled calendar, and
yeah, it was a digital calendar that didn't connect to the internet.
Stupid.
Yeah. And then the other commercial that I enjoyed was the one for Pepsi Twist, because I remember drinking Pepsi Twists back then and thinking I was hot shit.
Yeah, I agree. Remember Surge though?
Surge was the best.
Yeah, that shit was cool.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, because Surge, they actually came to our school, and as school let out, they were just giving it away to all of us for free, which I don't think you can probably do anymore.
Yeah, what is up with that, dude? And we got pretty hooked. Yeah, of course.
That was the best day.
Get them hooked. Yep.
Dude, same thing. Same thing. Pretty weird, man. When I was going to school, like college, I would get like these pickup games. I don't know if you were there for one of these, Andy, but there'd be people driving around with like peddling like Red Bull and giving that shit away for free.
Oh,
yeah. Really?
Yeah, I'm like, what is this?
Oh, they're like Red Bull representatives at college. They just give it out free to anybody they could.
Dude, this sounds suspect. If somebody could do a deep dive on this.
All right.
Stats guy. All right, Greg, give us your best and worst.
All right. My best was, you've seen that Browns like jersey where they keep adding on all the quarterbacks.
Yes.
Revisiting that whole thing and looking at all the names is the best. It's the best.
Give us a quick rundown.
Okay, we got Couch, Kelly Holcomb, Jeff Garcia, Brent Dilfer, Charlie Fry, Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Brandon Whedon, Thad Lewis, and dude, RG3. There's some great names on there. And my worst was going to be that I actually had a Kelly Holcomb jersey, which I have no fucking clue why I had that, but I did, which is kind of embarrassing.
You had a Kelly Holcomb jersey?
Kelly Holcomb jersey.
I feel like I remember
was it one of those like bargain bin ones that like Andy's been talking about? Because that makes sense.
Why would I get a fucking Kelly Holcomb jersey?
Yeah, that's insane.
As the podcast went on, my real worst is Connor's take on kicking percentages. Just to look back a little bit, if you look at career 50-plus yard field,
is there like construction going on?
Yeah, my worst is Connor doing whatever the fuck he's doing in the background right now.
I had my fridge door had been open for too long, and it was alerting me that get out of the fridge, fat ass.
He's making fucking hot pockets over there. Jesus.
I'm making a chicken burrito with salsa verde. It's green hot sauce.
Thank God.
Yeah. Anyways,
glad you're able to share that with us.
I'm congratulations, Greg, for all your stats. I know you were too young to comprehend the games that were going on in 2001, but Adam Vinatieri was automatic, and you never had to worry about him. I haven't been able to trust
Connor, you realize that, right? The numbers don't lie. Your brain is not fully developed. You're like a fucking infant. You just see, he made that one. He's gonna make the rest of them.
Okay. Do you remember the
Greg? Chill out.
Do you remember? Yes, you damn right it might be. Do you remember the games? When was the last time I never worried about Adam Vinatieri from 2001 until whenever he left.
Well,
I bet these old farts remember that too. You could always count on Adam Vinatieri. Stephen Gostkowski has been missing bunnies. Maybe not. You know what? His percentage is great. His percentage is great because we score so often and we're in fucking scoring position all the time. But he's been missing.
Why is his percentage better at 50 plus?
Dude, let's be honest. All right, let's put this to rest. Let's be honest. Stephen Gostkowski was great until that year in the playoffs against the Broncos, where he missed that kick, and he's never been the same since. All right, so
prime Vinatieri, prime Gostkowski. Who do you got?
Or is it that you
I gotta go?
never
Vinatieri.
thought of him the same since?
No, he was not right after that game, man.
I don't know.
I mean, look at the stats. Look at the fucking stats.
Who do you want? Who do you want in their prime? Answer the Vinatieri, Gostkowski, prime.
Either.
Who do you want?
Either.
Okay, you fucking middle dude. It doesn't matter. Oh my god! Would Gostkowski hit the 48? Would Gostkowski hit the 48-yarder in the snow? You know he wouldn't. Give me a fucking break, dude. Name one big kick.
He kicked a 53-yarder to beat the Giants.
That's
in regular season.
What was that? Week 17?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Come on.
Yeah, you do know. He knows.
And I remember that game exactly. So that's
of course everyone does. We had that
all the field goals he kicked in the last Super Bowl that he won.
Randy had that long touchdown. Everyone remembers Week 17 and how it didn't fucking matter.
No, not that game.
Well, I remember the other game that you might be alluding to with OBJ.
Yeah.
And
yes, that's the one.
His big kick can't be in the regular season, man.
It's a big
on that note,
53-yarder game winner.
Dude, give me a break.
We're talking about who's the better kicker.
I believe it's the one that Belichick recently said. What's his face from the Ravens, I believe.
Justin Tucker.
Yeah. Tucker.
That's right.
Justin Tucker. Yeah.
I would take.
Yeah, he's something else. Yeah.
Connor, what's your best and worst, man?
All right, so it's limited, but I have two bests. And it hasn't been talked about, but talk about Mr. Reliable, Antoine. You guys have talked about him in the past. What do you have? 2 TDs this game, very pedestrian, like maybe 70, 80 yards rushing. But he had a fucking nose for the end zone. I think he had 2 rushing TDs in this game. My second
76 yards,
My second best, very Antoine Smith game. My second best, like I already mentioned, was that fucking massive Lawyer Malloy block to free Troy Brown on the punt return. Until it just, you don't see your best defenders out on punt returns like you did in like the early 2000s and stuff. That kind of stood out to me. Tom Brady just being a completely different person than that, like 2001, obviously his first year, but like those early years, he was just completely different. And my worst might have been 2 Tom Brady plays. I think this was probably his worst game since he became starter.
Oh no!
Yeah, there's one worse.
The Broncos game was an absolute nightmare.
It's actually kind of typical this year.
Yeah. This is
So would you say no? The 2 picks and I think he lost the fumble. He had games where he didn't score touchdowns, but he drove them down the field, and Antoine Smith or like a draw to Kevin Falk or some shit happened. But I think he was responsible for 3 turnovers in this game. So it was one of his worst games. Maybe not his worst, but
I think it might be his second worst up to this point. We had one where it was a 4-pick game, maybe a couple of fumbles.
Yeah, that's bad.
I will say this, guys, because we didn't bring it up, but I thought it was very cool stat. Sorry, Greg, I'm jumping into your territory here, but I know they were talking about most consecutive games in a row with 70% completion percentage, and they put up a graphic, and Joe Montana had 8 games in a row. Sammy Baugh had 4, Steve Young had 4, Troy Aikman had 4, and Brady coming into this game had 4 in a row as well.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So that's pretty cool.
2001 Tom Brady sure was prolific, huh?
Yeah, right. And then
for the time, I guess so.
I'll also say we didn't bring up Aaron Shea because he got hurt in the game anyway. But Aaron Shea was Brady's teammate at Michigan. They became very good friends. And I don't know if you guys know this, but this always stuck in my mind. He always saw greatness in Tom Brady because he was a hard worker and he was humble. And he knows he's humble because he once asked Brady, what would you do if you became famous and you had millions of dollars? And Brady said, I would buy a new pair of socks every day because I like how they feel.
So when we have Tom Brady on this podcast, we're going to ask him. The first question we're going to ask him is, do you buy a new pair of socks every day?
That is, I think that's a pretty good question.
Baller move, isn't it?
That's definitely a baller move.
I know. He's like, that's
too
real.
Rich to wash your own socks,
dude. Exactly. He's like, oh, it's real fucking humble. That's all he wants, dude. That's a pretty big ask.
And then, I mean, it definitely loses its novelty after what, like 60 times?
Like
True.
a week,
Normal.
maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's special because they're new, you know,
Right.
and so that's a poor take from Tom.
Yeah, and they still like the first couple of times you wear them, they still feel new, you know?
Yeah.
And pre-hair plugs, Tom, he had, I think he just had a different mindset.
See, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, we could definitely that'll be a nice teaser for future episodes because I've brought up and we've debated when everybody sold their soul. So, is it hair plugs or was it a deal with the devil?
What, you think
Deal
you
with
got
the devil.
plugs?
Oh, for sure, dude. Come on.
It was
No, I did not.
like 2004 or 5. He got hair plugs, yeah, and they started to grow in.
I would do it too, and I might have already. Thank you very much.
Long hair Tom Brady were some of my favorite years, and you know he was only wearing the long hair because he was just so happy to just even be able to grow long hair after the hair plugs.
All right, now he's dyeing his hair. Look, it's fine. All right,
Yeah.
He's a beautiful man.
Can do what he wants.
Yeah.
He's earned it.
Greg,
All right,
I
so we're
would
gonna
bang
wrap this
him.
shit up or what?
Yes, I think that's plenty.
I can't believe I'm calling it. What is
I can't-
happening?
I just can't believe we've talked as much about a random Browns game that I didn't even remember happened.
Yeah,
And I'm sure none of you remember happened, if we're being honest.
I do remember this game actually, but
That's a lie.
I do, you son of a bitch. But Connor, if you're ever back again, I mean, this noise that you're making is fucking amateur hour, but you've been good otherwise. I hear you have a deep dive on, I believe, Roman Pfeiffer, so that could be a teaser for another time.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that tonight.
No. We're 2 hours in at this point. I'm going to have to cut half of this shit out anyway.
That's what you said, and then you said you released a 2-hour episode. I haven't been paying attention, but yeah, I hear there's a 2-hour one out there.
An hour and 45, yes.
I don't.
As
It
long as
came
we've
up
gotten
as
so far.
115 on my end, bro.
Yeah, and let me come back. I won't talk as much. That's my promise. I didn't know what to do. It was like I had so much to say. I promise you, I will have nothing to say next week. I literally used all my takes. I used all my I'm done. Tap.
That was all your knowledge. That was it. Got it. All right. Well, until then, next week, the Patriots travel to Ralph Wilson Stadium of Greg Brown, Dick fame, and go up against Buffalo Bills. So we'll see how that turns out. So hopefully, if you've lasted this long, you'll join us next week, and we will talk to you then. See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you later.